Hello, and welcome to the Celestial Scholar Podcast, where evidence meets energy and the stars tell more than stories. They reveal blueprints for the soul. I'm Dr. Lauren Van Gerwen, communication scholar, intuitive astrologer, and curious human being, here to guide you through the cosmic patterns shaping your path. Whether you're a skeptic, a seeker, or somewhere in between, this space invites you to explore astrology as a tool for reflection, empowerment, and self-understanding. Let's unfold the sky together. So let's go back to the beginning. I was a kid. It's the 90s. I read a lot. I spent a lot of time in the libraries, and I just kind of found a book on astrology one day. And I was like, oh, this is neat. And then I realized it was the same as the horoscope in the newspaper, and I just started reading. I was probably 11, maybe 12. And I remember, so an astrology chart is a circle, right? And it's divided into 12 different sections or houses. And I remember practicing drawing that circle because there was computer technology to do the charts. I didn't have it though. So got the book, practiced drawing it, practiced drawing all those little glyphs of the planets and the symbols and the stars. And then I did my chart, which I had to look up in like an ephemeris is what they call it, but it's essentially a giant printed Excel table of the degrees of the stars, and did my own chart. And then I wanted to do my friends' charts. And then I just got another book and started reading. There's no better teacher than experience and hands-onness. So seeing the difference just as a teenager, right, and a young adult, my chart versus my friends' charts. And then, of course, you're interested in that person you're dating, their chart. So did my high school boyfriend's chart. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So then I get into college and I'm doing more charts, and I kind of like pull away from it for a while. And then I go back to it because I'm a woman of science. I really, truly am. And evidence has to be there. But astrology is a pseudoscience, right? It is. I have no qualms about saying that outright. Then I did my college boyfriend's chart, who eventually became my husband, who eventually became my ex-husband. And I looked at his chart and I said, obviously, this isn't right. And I crumpled up that paper and I threw it away. And I walked away from astrology for years after that. And then I got divorced. And I said, no, this was right. It's all right. Really, I suppose in my teen years, it was internal. It was me. I focused on my chart more because everybody likes learning about themselves. Everyone likes reading about themselves, talking about themselves. It's psychology, right? So I'm an Aquarius moon. I'm an Aquarius sun and an Aquarius moon. So astrology is a lot about archetypes, right? So the moon represents, what would you guess? Emotion, right? It also represents the mother or the mother figure in your life. And so Aquarius, a lot of people mistake Aquarius for being a water sign. Nay, they are the water bearer. We are an air sign. And we say, oh, all those emotions, I'm just going to stick them in this jar here, and I'm going to pour them out over there. So it's a very intellectual sign. It's a very pragmatic sign. It's a scientific sign. And to pair that with emotion resonated with me so much because I think, therefore I feel is sort of the mantra for my emotional state. So I'm also a Pisces Venus, which is it's an exalted placement. It's considered one of the nicest, the most beautiful. Taurus Venus is another one. And I'm like, Pisces, that's a water sign. That's very emotional. No, it's definitely me. I'm a romantic at heart. What I do, what real astrology is, it's not the horoscope in the newspaper. That is it's for fun. It's a gimmick. It's literally psychologically written in a way that appeals to every single human being, no matter which of the 12 you read. But is it fun? Of course it's fun. But this is not that. I don't do horoscopes. So you take that clock face, that circle with the planets in their individual 12 houses, just like a clock, and you turn it upwards, look up at the sky. And that is a 2D representation of what the stars looked like above you when you were born. And that's your chart. So then you'll see little lines between those points, those planets. And that's math. That's geometry. That is just literally a 90-degree angle. It's a square. It's a 180-degree angle. It's an opposition. or a trine. And so each of the different aspects have names, and it's literally just math. You can't make it up. You can't change it. It just is. And so the planets revolve around the sun, just like the Earth. And it is the aspect between the planet and the exact spot to latitude and longitude where you were born that makes your chart. My first profession, I was an actress. A theater, film, yeah, sure, whatever, money. I was an extra in a few things. But on the live stage, that's where my heart was. And that's that Pisces Mars. I also have Pisces Mars. And it just fulfilled my soul. But I was always that person, instead of doing a lot of socializing backstage or just goofing off, I was reading like a philosophy book, right, in college. So I've just always been, how did I not always know I was meant to be an academic? I don't know. Literally, I was homeschooled for 2 years and I basically taught myself. That's why part of being in the library a lot in 5th and 6th grade. And would read about learning and then apply, like, oh, I'm going to smell a vanilla candle while I study science. And I'm going to smell a citrus candle while I study math. And like, I was meant for academia. It's in my chart. That 9th house placement right there. And so I let go of theater, which was I forget exactly what transit it was. It was a Pluto transit, which if you know astrology, that's a big transformative change, life change. It's happening whether you want it to or not. I let go of theater as a profession, and I can still love it, and I do. And that's actually when I fell into public relations. And this whole transition time, I'm not looking at astrology. This was like an astrology blackout period, so to speak. Fall into public relations. I get a couple of jobs working for good nonprofits, loved it, decided, wow, I kind of want to learn more about this, and got sucked into the master's program at UL in communication. And then I fell in love with academia and teaching. And that was it. It was like I felt this is where I belong. And so the more I went through that journey, kind of peeking back into astrology a little bit as like an indulgence, it felt like, ooh, hand in the cookie jar kind of thing, because it is a pseudoscience and it's a push-pull. And so let me demonstrate where that is in my chart for you. So the nodes of the moon, they're points in time. They're not anything physical, but they're points around the moon. And if you study physics at all, you know what I'm talking about, astrophysics. And they don't change, they don't shift, but they rotate with the moon around the Earth, right? So the north node of the moon represents your path in this life, where you're meant to grow towards and pursue. And your south node on the exact opposite side of the chart is if you believe in past lives, your past life strengths, or if you don't, just your innate strengths. Everyone has them. So the 6th house, that is everyday things, that is regularity, that is Rihanna, work, 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 work. It is regularity in excelling in every day. And I rock that. Give me a list, I will knock it out. Achievement unlocked. That's me. I don't even have to think about it. The opposite of that, what do you think that is? It's the spiritual. It's isolation, contemplating like a monk in a monastery up on a hill. It's also asylums and prisons, but it's a lot. So there's different things fit into different houses, right? But so that push-pull of where I'm comfortable and where I thrive without much effort, science grounded, and then the looseness of astrology in the spiritual realm is my destiny, so to speak. And I finally just accepted it a few years ago, and I started devouring charts and analyzing them with my PhD brain. Hello, friend, do you know your birth time? Ooh, friend, you're dating a new guy. I need his birth time. And through that regularity, so bringing that strength of the 6th house into, because it's scary. Doing this is scary. Reading people, scary. Making a brand around something spiritual, scary to me, but it is my path. And also I'm really good at it. You might think, oh, you read my chart once, you tell me about myself. Okay, that's it. It's done. It could be that. No, man, once I have your chart, let's say you have a decision coming up to make about work or moving or to break up with somebody, anything. I can look at what we call transits. So you have your birth chart, right? And that's the sky above you when you were born. And I can pull up your transits and it creates a second circle around your chart. That is the current planets. And the lines, instead of being all the planets to the point where you were born, are the current planets to the planets when you were born. And that can tell me, so I'm not psychic, but the transits can tell me flavors or themes of life that may be coming up for you. So for example, your Saturn return. The Saturn return, so a return, what is a return? Your birthday is your solar return. The sun is relative to the earth in the same place it was when you were born. That's it. That's your birthday. So every planet has a return. Saturn takes about 28 to 31 years to take a full revelation around the earth. So your Saturn return is like a coming of life or a coming of age for everybody. The way I describe it is afterwards, you are a more adultier adult. For a lot of people, so if you're 26, 27 and you come for a reading, I can say, hey, here are the exact dates for your Saturn return. This is when it's going to get intense. This is the theme of life that might come up. Here are the things you might want to mentally or emotionally prepare yourself for, because it's happening, whether you want it or not. And if you live long enough and you get to be 60 something, you have a second Saturn return. If you failed the first one, the second one will be harsh because Saturn is a teacher. Let me tell you about my Saturn return. So that was during one of my walking away periods of time from astrology, because my Saturn return, summed up in a nutshell, was getting my PhD. Like it started, my first exact was the summer that I moved. I got my PhD from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. Sorry, not sorry. But moving there. And then it summed up like my very last year. So it was about I had a brutal 5 direct hit Saturn returns. So what does that mean? I can explain that real quick. So have you ever heard of Mercury going retrograde, right? So all the planets go retrograde, so quote unquote. And the planets don't physically move backwards, like they don't. But it appears from the point of view of the Earth, like they go and they slow and they stop and they move back and then they move back again. It's an optical illusion. And if you're that kind of scientist, yeah, it could tell you more, you could Google it, but that's essentially what it is the appearance of the moving backwards. But in astrology, it is a regression. And so it's a time of contemplation, and each planet has a different meaning when it goes retrograde. But so for me, Saturn hit its return. Then it went retrograde. Then it went forward. Then it went backwards again and hit it again. And then it went forwards again. Yeah, it was a lot. But to say I'm a more adultier adult on the other side is an understatement. And so many people, it's the birth of their first child, end of 20s, early 30s. That is a common time to have kids. For another friend, it was opening a business. So stuff like that. Why now? That is a great question. So I've been wanting to do this for about 2 years. 2 years ago, I made the decision, okay, this is it. I feel a calling in my soul, which is not a scientific thing to say. It is through reading people, my friends, family, random people at bars. Some of my friends have, it's their favorite party trick, so to say, like, chart. I read this one person once. It was just randomly. I was at Cafe Cottage, sat down, and he vibed, right? Oh, what a nice soul. Okay, cool. Hey, all right. Yeah, cool. And I'm with my other friend that I came to the bar with, and we're hanging out. It's like middle of the day. And because that's what you do. You go day drink at Cafe Cottage. And he was like, oh, I've always wanted. I was like, buy me a drink and I'll read your chart. Because just it was a ping of instinct saying, read this person's chart. And this person, I mean, beautiful soul, calm, collected, very kind of hippie vibe, gentle soul. I looked at that young man's chart and saw pain and hard beginnings. And I said, "Are you sure about the time you were born?" And he was like, "Absolutely." And I said, "Okay." So I started talking about his chart. And I said, one of the things I said was absent father, but caring father. And then I got this pull and I was like, okay, this is going to sound crazy. And please tell me if I'm wrong. But like violence in your neighborhood, in the area where you were born, and there's something about a playground. What's special about this playground? And I saw him get the frissons, and he said, "That is wild that you say that." So I grew up in Compton, and there was this playground there that was built in the late 2000s. And that playground was one of his places of reprieve, of joy, of going. I helped build that playground. I worked for a nonprofit organization. Rock Bottom was the restaurant, and I forget the name of the actual organization, but the series of restaurants had a nonprofit that went to do good, feed the homeless, build stuff. And I partnered with another nonprofit that built playgrounds called Kaboom. And literally, I have pictures of me building that playground. Is that not wild? Stuff like that is what has pushed me. I can't deny it anymore. To me, I don't need it to be in a spreadsheet and have, significance less than or equal to 0.05. Although I bet you if I did run those, it would be. But time and time and time again, stories like that, encountering people, this is something I'm meant to do. And that's why I'm here. Let's talk about critics and naysayers. I don't need to convince anyone to believe in what I do. That's not who I'm here for. You don't want to believe it? Don't believe it. You don't want to come get a reading? Don't get a reading. That's not who I'm here to help. The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, has blessed me, for lack of a better word, and I don't use that word very often, with the ability to help guide people in their path. And if you're a naysayer, okay, go have fun. Then I'm not for you. So that wraps up episode 1 of the Celestial Scholar podcast, where evidence meets energy and the stars tell more than stories. They reveal the blueprints for the soul. I am Dr. Lauren Van Gerwen, and thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the stars. If something resonated, feel free to share this episode, leave a review to help others find their way here, or you can connect with me on Instagram at celestial_scholar. Until next time, keep listening inward and upward.